At this very second, there is someone with their mind completely fixed on you. I mean, genuinely dwelling on you, not just a passing thought. Perhaps they noticed an object and pictured sharing it with you. They caught a melody and wondered how you would react. They are navigating their entire routine with you on their mind in manners you cannot even fathom. And it is crucial that you grasp this because it is significant. They will never bounce back from you. Not once the inevitable occurs. Not after that initial embrace alters. Absolutely everything. Look, there is a reality that rarely gets discussed. A living spark exists between you and this individual. A tension that has been brewing just out of sight. You sense it occasionally, correct? When you notice them staring at you for a fraction too long, a certain vibe is present. This silent connection has been expanding. It has been biding its time, and they are aware of it. They sense it equally as deeply as you. Yet here is the piece you are missing. It absolutely petrifies them, and it isn't due to a lack of affection. Quite the reverse. Verily the exact reverse. They harbor this fear because they recognize that a single move in your direction will flip their whole universe. Irreversibly so. They are conscious, profoundly conscious of their current state. That allowing you access, genuinely revealing your significance to them, means waving goodbye to the status quo forever. The era of faking it would be over. Hence why they continue suppressing every impulse. It is tearing them apart internally. They remain trapped between yearning to confess it all and feeling entirely intimidated by the implications. Ponder that for a moment. Really let it sink in. They oscillate relentlessly within their own minds each and every day. At one instant, they feel certain they ought to shatter the quiet and pour their heart out. The following instant, dread consumes them. What if your feelings aren't mutual? What if the affection isn't reciprocated? What if they ruin the dynamic? What if they are misinterpreting the tension between you two? They question their own preparedness for such a leap, though primarily they are merely attempting to. Comprehend the profound impact you have on them, recognizing you aren't a person one can merely harbor a fleeting crush on. You require authenticity. You demand truthfulness. You warrant steadfast dedication. You crave a secure emotional haven, and they are aware, intimately aware, that approaching you requires absolute certainty. They cannot arrive carrying doubts. They cannot offer a fragmented heart. They must step forward with absolute vision. The crazy part is they may remain oblivious to the extent you have already transformed them. Yet there is a quality to your aura that acts as a remedy. Perhaps past wounds still linger. Perhaps they endured prior bonds that lacked security. Maybe others failed to comprehend them, failed to truly observe them, or failed to provide a sense of stability. Consequently, they erected barricades. They mastered the art of superficial interactions. They figured out how to exit prior to the waters getting too profound. They persuaded their own minds that independence was all they required, that they relied on nobody. They fed themselves the narrative that romance would merely snare them, dictate their actions, and render them fragile. Thus, they lingered in the safe zones. They ensured their connections remained fleeting. Transitory situations were manageable, as fleeting felt secure, until your arrival. You avoided any unnatural behavior. You refrained from frantic pursuit. You made no attempts to persuade, manipulate, or corner them into unwanted commitments. You simply breathed and were present. My wonderful friend, your mere existence was enough, and that is exactly what captivated them. You offered solace while asking for zero in return. You fostered a space where they felt validated without the need for endless inquiries. You ensured they felt visible and entirely free of criticism. You granted them the liberty to exist authentically, to simply be their genuine selves, and a hidden part of their spirit splintered open as a direct result. A true sense of security washed over them in your presence. Not merely the absence of threat, but the profound safety that allows for deep breaths where constant performance and self-guarding become unnecessary. A place to dismantle their fortresses, hence the reason they are unable to. Erase you from their mind despite their best efforts, even as they attempt mental distance, aiming to persuade themselves that the bond is trivial. Your essence lingers beside them. A profound magnetism exists. It is as though a fragment of their core identifies a fragment of yours. It surpasses mere physical appeal. Surface allure is simple to ignore. This runs much further down. This is fundamentally emotional. It holds massive significance. Crucially, a significance they cannot entirely decode. It feels akin to two spirits acknowledging one another, as if you were a companion from a past lifetime, where your proximity brings a comforting familiarity that defies rational logic yet rings undeniably authentic. Consequently, they are stewing in these realizations. They are absorbing emotions that multiply in power with each passing sunrise. They are attempting to manage the sheer force of their internal state. They are striving to comprehend your immense sway over them. They are working to determine if they possess the readiness for the potential outcome. Moreover, they are likely grappling with a few personal hurdles of their own concurrently. Perhaps certain internal conflicts require resolution. Maybe lingering historical issues demand their attention. There could be heavy emotional cargo they refuse to dump onto your path. They remain acutely cognizant that approaching you prior to organizing their own reality could spawn unnecessary friction. Injecting turmoil into your world is the last thing they desire. They wish to avoid delivering mayhem or volatility. As a result, they are avoiding haste. They are exercising immense caution. Their focus lies in cultivating themselves to genuinely deserve your presence. And I hold deep admiration for that stance. I truly esteem that mindset, because this marks the pivotal transition point. This is the boundary where idle daydreaming morphs into an all-consuming fixation that eclipses every other thought. It culminates in the precise second their lips finally meet yours. Prior to that physical connection, everything existed purely in theory. It lived solely within their imagination. Feigning control remained a viable option they could successfully preserve. A degree of separation, yet the instant that barrier breaks, the moment your mouths collide, and the tangible truth of your nearness hits them, a core aspect of their being permanently awakens. It is no minor occurrence. It surpasses a simple glimmer. It acts as a total, comprehensive rewiring of their sensory pathways. Their physical form validates your presence. Their aura intertwines seamlessly with your own. The overwhelming nature of it far exceeds their wildest predictions. You recall that classic cinematic climax, akin to those iconic on-screen romances, where the long-awaited embrace happens after decades of anticipation, and the sheer relief is etched across their features, as though the entire universe shrank down into that solitary interaction. That perfectly mirrors their internal experience. It transcends a mere physical exchange. It represents the dam breaking on every suppressed emotion, every terrifying vulnerability, every force they spent years guarding against. The floodgates swing wide open simultaneously. Their internal wiring blazes to life. Their pulse skyrockets. For the initial time in forever, self-preservation vanishes from their priorities. Their mind ceases to dwell upon potential disasters. Their sole realization becomes, this is genuine. This is unfolding right now. And my only desire is to dwell in this sensation for eternity. It mimics the sensation of rousing from an extended slumber, understanding they possessed a pulse all along, yet never truly experienced vitality until this precise fraction of time by your side. That physical connection shatters every last shield, forcing them to acknowledge their absolute, unvarnished exposure. Yet uniquely, the urge to flee is absent. They yearn to fall further. They desire to submerge themselves entirely. A tidal wave of sensation will crash over them. The profound security they have desperately hungered for will manifest. The exhausting charade will finally conclude. The overwhelming thought will echo, heavens above, this is authentic. This is happening. This human is tangible. We are sharing this exact vibration, that solid verification, the instance they recognize your reciprocation. It fractures a hidden barrier within their soul. It demolishes the armor that previously encased their deepest emotions. Suddenly, the anxiety of guarding, their own spirit evaporates. Their focus shifts entirely to the subsequent encounter, the next opportunity to share your space, the upcoming chance to replicate that high. The fixation becomes utterly relentless. Undoubtedly, they will make an effort to resist. They will attempt to navigate their routine, feigning ignorance of the event, but the truth remains unaltered. Your signature is permanently stamped onto their being, much like a shiver down the spine. Whenever their eyelids shut, the tactile memory resurfaces vividly. Throughout their routine, arbitrary triggers throughout the afternoon jog, their memory of you, instantly teleporting them back to that peak emotional state. The essence of you refuses to vacate their system. It endures. It hovers continuously. Furthermore, their thoughts are perpetually hooked on the possibility of a recurrence. It mirrors those tragic, beautiful literary romances. The obsession persists regardless of physical distance, transforming every ticking second into a mission to reunite with that specific soul. That is precisely the mental loop they are trapped in currently. They exist simultaneously across split dimensions. The plane where they navigate, mundane tasks, and the realm where your memory devours them entirely. Their inner circle could be actively conversing with them, yet the words fail to register, as every ounce of cognitive bandwidth is devoted to flashbacks of your face, the curve of your grin, the magnetic pull when the gap between you closed, the jolting electricity of that specific interaction. It loops endlessly within their consciousness, akin to a beloved melody, and the desire for it to fade is non-existent. They refuse to let it cease. Their mobile device sits nearby as they contemplate sending a message. They fabricate reasons to orchestrate a coincidental meetup. They find themselves scrolling through your social feeds, avoiding creepy territory, yet certainly bordering on infatuation, driven by an ache to view your features, to validate your existence, to tap into that wavelength once more, if only through a digital screen. This individual, who formerly sprinted away from dedication, from intimacy, from the raw exposure that true affection demands, finds their mind utterly monopolized by you. The mere concept of you standing beside another partner is unthinkable. The very notion induces a deeply unsettling sensation within their ribs. Unsettling barely captures the severity. Petrified is the accurate term. They are utterly petrified. A profound certainty tells them you belong with them, because the truth is undeniable. This stems not from a desire to dictate or possess that misses the mark completely. It is pure acknowledgement, as though their deepest self ultimately pinpointed its missing half. Having sampled that reality, having tangibly experienced the sensation of being physically linked to you, reverting to a state of feigned indifference is impossible. The internal shift involves viewing you through an entirely new lens. You have transcended the role of a simple romantic interest. You have morphed into the catalyst for their evolution. You stand as the force that forced them to interrogate their long-standing cynical views on romance. You represent the motivation to pursue the very thing they previously evaded. You are evoking emotions they wrongly assumed they had permanently mastered. You are reviving a dormant segment of their spirit, a sector craving deep affection, a fraction that hungers for authentic intimacy, a piece that desires the mutual exchange of choosing and being chosen, a fragment utterly exhausted by the constant retreat. A newfound gravity has taken hold. The era of treating your dynamic lightly has evaporated. Their mental framing of you has transformed completely. Their method of allocating time for you has shifted drastically. Overnight, you surpassed the category of mere delightful company. You became a foundational partner they wish to establish a life alongside. You represent an entity they feel fiercely protective of. In their eyes, you stand entirely apart from every other soul that has crossed their path. Because that physical touch solidified a truth. It verified the authenticity of the bond. It proved your mutual intuition was accurate, that the heavy magnetism you both felt was entirely justified. Visions of a shared destiny now occupy their thoughts, eschewing toxic fixation for grounded reality. They find themselves visualizing the process of constructing a permanent legacy alongside you. They picture tranquil afternoons, stripped of any exhausting social masquerades. They envision the simple luxury of merely breathing in your presence. They dream of the sensation of opening their eyes beside you at dawn, the freedom of reaching out for contact instinctively, devoid of hesitation, the privilege of speaking your name as if it were a rare treasure, because that perfectly encapsulates your current value to them. An invaluable treasure, a presence they refuse to forfeit. An awakening is occurring, signaling a readiness to evolve. Genuine evolution. Eschewing cosmetic adjustments for profound, core-level metamorphosis. They stand prepared to conclude the eras that demand finality. The willingness to confront their deepest terrors has arrived. They are equipped to tackle their internal baggage, to ensure they arrive whole and healthy for you. The urge to flee has vanished, as your proximity and that solitary embrace proved that evasion offers zero fulfillment. Fleeting encounters will no longer suffice. The ultimate realization is their profound craving for an authentic, transparent, and enduring bond. It mirrors that classic epiphany often depicted in cinematic love stories, where the lifelong escapist finally halts their retreat. They merely freeze, pivot on their heels, then commit with absolute totality. The justifications cease. The emotional armor is discarded. The internal monologue shifts to, all right, I am fully committing to this path. I am selecting this human and abandoning the rearview mirror. That is the exact precipice they currently occupy, standing at the doorway of a new era. A complete transmutation is imminent, driven by your demonstration of the true, unadulterated sensation of genuine devotion. Your actions proved that exposing one's soul equates to strength, not fragility. That committing to a partner does not diminish your power. That unbarring the gates to your affection does not guarantee ruin. That profound epiphany, that solitary instance of crystal clear comprehension, is forcefully redirecting their destiny. The individual who existed prior to that intimate connection is gone. A revitalized, superior version is emerging, an individual possessing clarity of desire and the courage to battle for it. This might remain hidden from your view presently. However, you are actively rewriting their core. Your influence is prompting a massive internal interrogation. Your presence acts as a catalyst for their bravery. Due to the fact that each instance their mind drifts to you, each recollection of that intense emotional peak, their fortitude multiplies. Their conviction solidifies further. They inch progressively closer to the point of absolute, unwavering commitment, surpassing fleeting instances, anchoring into permanence, rooted in profound significance. Consequently, upon their eventual approach, and rest assured, they will approach. The encounter will lack any chaotic unpredictability. It will resonate as a force that has steadily accumulated over an extended period. In reality, it will carry an air of absolute inevitability, as though destiny penned this outcome long ago. Evading it is an impossibility due to the overwhelming magnetic draw. The sensations are overwhelmingly authentic. The spiritual acknowledgement runs unfathomably deep. Expect a noticeable emotional tremor in their tone during your conversations. A newfound gravity will anchor their behavior. Their overall aura will project a distinct, altered frequency. The former hesitation marking their approach will be glaringly absent. They will advance with undeniable intentionality. Establishing absolute clarity will be their primary objective. Ensuring your comprehension that the prolonged delays, the calculated separation, the constant restraint stemmed not from apathy. It was rooted in vital self-preparation, a dedicated effort to mold themselves into a partner capable of honoring your true worth. This specific individual has grasped a foundational truth, a profound understanding that your companionship lacks the suffocating nature of a prison. It breathes with the expansive air of liberation. Indeed, it resonates as pure tranquility. It embodies absolute emancipation, true liberty, serenity. It mimics the profound relief of ultimate comprehension. It carries the warmth of returning to a sanctuary. Such a prize justifies massive transformation. It warrants stepping directly into their terrors. It demands the cultivation of immense courage. Therefore, interpreting their hesitation as dismissal would be a grave error. That delay signifies rigorous readiness. Old chapters are being permanently sealed. Shadowy internal battles are being waged. They are excavating room for a genuine foundation. Once that boundary is ultimately breached, when your access becomes entirely unrestricted, they will never bounce back from your impact. Moving past this is an impossibility. Transitioning to another partner while feigning your insignificance is completely off the table. Your legacy is permanent within them. Your vibration, your essence, the specific emotions you trigger, these elements will be permanently branded upon their core, because that initial physical embrace hardly marks the inception of their affection. It serves as validation, tangible evidence that their internal sensations, their unspoken intuitions, the hopes they feared trusting, are entirely genuine. The reciprocity is undeniable. It is unfolding before their eyes. The moment that knowledge solidifies, once that sensation is absorbed, retreat becomes a physical impossibility. The sole available trajectory is onward, gravitating towards you, towards the potential empire you both could construct, pointing toward a destination that is authentic, undeniable, and permanent. They possess the readiness. They are actively stepping into that preparedness. You already hold the title of the catalyst who completely rerouted their existence, regardless of their verbal admission. Such is your inherent influence. This is your effect on others. You ignite a fierce desire for self-improvement. You restore their faith in profound connection. You instill a renewed confidence within their own spirit. And bouncing back from an awakening of that magnitude is impossible, truly impossible, for the rest of time.